evening, good evening, good evening. Who gives you a stunning New Year's kiss, but then doesn't tell you you're starting off the year with herpes? It's us, the Thursday Night Crew. American Scouts of TV Thursday Night Podcast, or ASTV if you're one of the cool kids. It's a foursome, it's an awesome foursome tonight, and not the sexy kind, unless you're watching us, in which case, it's still not the sexy kind. You know, but we're good looking boys anyway. We're joined by Brian, as always. How are you, Brian?
Doing fantastic.
And Susie is with us tonight. How are you, Susie?
How are you doing, fellas?
We're doing okay. And then the other handsome chappy, Cosby, how are you?
Good, brother, yeah. You know, new year, new me. Hola, Josh.
Well, it's like NSYNC if NSYNC was mashed up in some sort of food grinder.
Yeah, like pulled out of a wood chipper.
Yeah. New spuds on the block. That's what we are. So here's what we're going to talk about tonight. The contracts. I mean, we're into 2025 now. I'm sure if it hasn't happened already, the date for which those who are released in the summer can now speak to clubs as possibly passed or is not far off it, and we haven't heard a dicky board about it. Today, stories going around of our favourite on Thursday, Darwin Núñez, giving likes and subscriptions like you guys should be doing for our channel to all things AC Milan. We'll talk about that a little bit. Complacency, will that be the thing that holds us back more than injuries or not having a backup central defender or having Darwin Núñez in the team? And then finally, we'll talk about the game and have a good old laugh about Manchester United, because you know that's the one New Year's resolution we can all stick to, I think. Well, let us start with the contracts. The three boyos, look at how handsome they are. Not as handsome as us. And I just want to make sure everybody knows that Virgil is winking at me and not you three. This should be sorted out at this point, shouldn't it? Or at least we should know where the direction is going. They might want to ply that story of, you know, it's all done behind closed doors. And fair enough, you want contract talks to be done behind closed doors. But we're also getting weird interpretations of ear-twisting goal celebrations. Mohamed Salah coming out and saying he still hasn't had anything that remotely resembles a good chat about his contract. And Virgil being Virgil, he's probably going to be the one we know that's fine. So, Brian, are we sitting on our hands a little bit here? Because I mean, you know, we can talk about Trent wanting to go play with his mate over in Real Madrid, but Mo Salah is the one that makes everything work, and Virgil van Dijk is the one that keeps everything safe when it doesn't. Those two should be prioritised already and sorted out already, shouldn't they?
Have we been sitting on our answer now for 3 years? I mean, this shit should have been sorted out 2 or 3 years ago when you knew that this is what was going to happen. You just don't leave people with 6 months left on their contract. I mean, it makes madness. It just does all our heads in right there, basically, with them trying to figure out all this constant talk about it. Is he going? Is he not going? What kind of money? What's the contract situation? I mean, it's just too much. I mean, it looks really bad on the last group that Smalda and whoever that was with Klopp of not tying all this shit down. I mean, that's what it really looks bad on. I mean, I think that, not that I'm a big fan of the bean counters with how they operate right there, but I mean, this isn't really in their hands at the moment right there. We let these contracts draw down. I really still say right there, like I've said for the past couple of weeks, Mo's priority. After that's Verge, and then Trent is third on that list right there. I mean, Mo makes things happen. Verge is like the key of our defense. Trent's a right back. I mean, yes, he's a playmaker. He's a fan. I mean, he's a local kid. But the problem is right there, he's a right back, and it all depends on what his demands are too. I mean, the whole talk that's going on right now right there with him wanting the future captaincy and a 3-year minimum contract that I read about this morning and stuff like that. Fine. I mean, if that's what you want, okay. But it all goes back to numbers right there, because I don't think that you can pay a right back over the top. I mean, you can't make that right back a 400,000 pound earner a week. I mean, you can't do that. It just throws off the whole fucking the whole cycle.
Well, let me ask you this though, Brian. Why can't you do that? because he's not just the right back, he is the main creator for the team almost. He's like one of the best passers of a ball in Europe. Surely you can make exceptions when you have players like that, because you don't pay by position necessarily, you pay by skill.
I mean, okay, I'll give you this. He's the best playmaker, but is he the best defender at that position also? I mean, so it's a crapshoot. I mean, I can't really I have to look at numbers. Also, I mean, not to go with the bean counters, but you still have to look at numbers. What's Mo Salah putting in every year? I mean, this is like the 2020 another 2020 goals. I mean, a season. This is like what now, the 7th season or something like that he's done this. I forgot what the numbers are, but I mean, that's worthy of a 400,000 in my opinion, right there, because he makes things happen. Verge right there. Look at he's the captaincy. And I mean, and a defender, he's still 32. It's still a good age for a defender. I mean, and he's actually holding down that entire back line. Trent, we've all had our issues with Trent right there with defending. We've had our issues with the things that he's done, and this whole media circus right there that's kind of surrounding him at the moment right there. I mean, yeah, we can go there and make those exceptions right there, but are those exceptions worth that all that trouble at the moment? I mean, I'm up in the air on that right there. I mean, yeah, I want all three of them to stay at this club right there, but I'm also not willing to go in there to go over the odds right there for a right back.
Susie, I think that's a fair point that Brian makes, but is there an opportunity cost? And this is what always comes down to me. Sports in general it's a talent economy, and talent doesn't come along too often. So I saw today, I haven't watched Formula One in a long time, but I was a huge fan back in the days of Murray Walker, going all the way back to those days, and Ayrton Senna, etc. But Ferrari, I believe Lewis Hamilton signed for Ferrari. Do you think Ferrari balked at any idea of not having Lewis Hamilton as the driver because they recognize how bloody good he is, and those kinds of talents don't come along too often? So there's an opportunity cost for me, and I wonder if you agree that, if you don't pay for what Trent Alexander-Arnold gives you, then you better have somebody lined up behind him that can do what he does for cheap. If you don't pay Mo Salah what he gives you up front in goals and assists, you better have somebody lined up for cheap. Otherwise, you're left with Darwin Núñez, he was Liverpool's most expensive player ever, and has more affinity with the corner flag than he does with the net. And with Virgil, he's just such a leader. We know at Liverpool how hard it is to defend to replace an iconic central defender. There is an opportunity cost to this, isn't it? And it doesn't seem to be on the minds of the people in charge of the contracts that you may have to stick your neck out and look a bit embarrassed that your financial plan didn't work, but you're going to pick up some trophies next year because you did it.
Yeah, and I think out of the three, I think the Virgil one was probably the most easiest one to do. Definitely within the last 2 years. He didn't show any signs of wanting to go anywhere. He didn't fall out with Klopp. We gave him the captaincy. That one should have been done a long time ago. Whether it was a year ago or 2 years ago. I think out of the three, that was the easiest. Salah, I think even a season or two into Salah coming in, there was always, he's going to leave. He may want to go to Real Madrid. And, we had his agent come on every 2 seasons, playing these cryptic games with us. So Salah was always, he was always a question mark of wherever he was going to finish his career with us. Trent, I always thought he would be Liverpool forever. And that's what he said, a couple of seasons ago in his interviews. But I think the money, I don't see why fans are wrapped up about the money situation. It's not coming out of our pockets. It's nothing to do with us. That's just between the players and the owners. I think Salah has a lane of his own because there's no other player that can play like him anywhere in the world. No one. And you can't, even at his age, you can't find a replacement that's even in the same league as him. So you got to give Salah what he wants. And I don't think with Salah it's money. I think it's the longevity of his contract, and same as Virgil. With Trent, I just don't. I can't believe that he'll give up his club just to play with his best mate. It just doesn't make sense. And knowing, and he's not stupid. He's seen what Madrid's like. He's seen Madrid bring in players and churn them out and spin them out. And, that's what's going to happen. It's as much quality as he has, but we've seen the best players go to Madrid and, talking about Gareth Bale and whatever, like they've been spat out and they're just another commodity. I think everyone but Cristiano Ronaldo, he's the only one who kind of still has that Messi-like legendary status with Madrid. Everyone else, even you talk about, what's his name? Raul. Like, when I grew up, he was one of the best strikers in the world, and they just like spat him out. They didn't give a shit about him. They let him go, and that was it. So if Trent's willing to let that happen to his career, then it is what it is. I mean, I don't begrudge him if he goes. He's won everything he can for us. I think the way the season is going this season, hopefully we do the double in terms of PL and the Champions League, and he'll still leave as a legend for us. I don't, it's we're bigger than all three of them, player wise. It's just a shame that it's come down to what it's come down to. And I know Richard Hughes is getting stick, but he also had the foresight of bringing on Slot when no one else, no one even heard of Slot. So for him to have the foresight to bring in someone like that, where we had an easy transition from Klopp to Slot, where everyone thought we'd fall out the Champions League places and everything else. Obviously, he's got some nous about him, so I don't believe that he's allowed, that nothing's gone on and at least 2 of the deals aren't signed off. My only big thing is that we need to know, we can't let it distract our season, and that's what's going to happen. As well as we're doing this season so far, it's just a distraction we don't need as fans.
Cosy, you're one on our Discord channel for putting out the meme of pay him his money, and we had it with the John Malkovich, pay that man his money thing. But it comes down to this, and we're all old school kind of guys here. I've been through Rush, Dalglish, Fowler, Owen, Torres, Suarez, Sturridge, Mane, Firmino. There's a pipeline for Liverpool. Yeah. But we're also competing on a footing of financially cheating clubs who can afford to sell themselves a hotel so they can spend 100 million on a sub striker who's probably one of the best strikers in the league, but they get to sit the bench because we've got 200 million to buy the actual starting player. So when we have I'm listening to Sir Z there too much. When we have assets that are overperforming, that are keeping us in the top echelon of the game, and we don't have a succession plan for them, it really looks bad from our perspective as fans, for the owners of the club and the management of the club, that they can't A, get this sorted out, and B, have no indication that they know how to replace it, because so far it's a misfiring most expensive player in the world and somebody who can't even get up in the morning without getting a disease of some description.
I mean, yes, in terms of where we're at with this, I feel like I've been having a good think about the Trent situation, the other situations to do with these contracts. First things first, it's not in the player's interest to sign a contract with Liverpool right now. Because if I'm Trent and I'm Virgil, let's say, I want Mo Salah. Sorry, if you're the club, you want Mo Salah to sign first. Because if you sign him last, the other lads won't sign. So, for example, you want to find out what Mo Salah's on, in effect. Because I would want to know that question. What's he on? We all probably agree that Mo Salah should be the top earner at Liverpool. Okay, no problem. 400 grand a week. Okay, so say you want a 2-year deal, 10 million over the 2 years. Easy money to replace. Same with Virgil, 10 million just to keep him going for 2 years. And you know where you're getting. Fine, done. Your issue's Trent. Let's just say, for example, we're all in hindsight here because we have no idea what's going on. Let's be real. We just know that the contracts have not been released to us. In hindsight, let's just say Virgil and Salah have signed. What is the next questions that every other fan has and the manager has in his press conferences? What's going on with Trent? It's actually really bad PR to announce the other two in a really weird way because of the other one. The club here, and I go back to the finances part, and Brian, I completely understand what he's saying. The finances part is the club are going to have to eat shit on this and say, we've fucked up getting ourselves into this position. We're going to have to give these guys whatever they want, in effect, unless it was ludicrous, top end, All three of them are going to be Liverpool top earners by the end of these contracts. Not even a conversation. They are. You have to sit down, evaluate, and go, how the fuck did we get ourselves in this position? How do we never let this happen again? But the problem is, I don't think Liverpool are willing to accept that. I think Liverpool are kind of playing on Virgil and Salah's loyalty in terms of they won't go anywhere, and they're kind of playing a double bluff, which I think is very dangerous to get into, especially when you're getting phone calls off every other club now in the world. You can just call them directly and go, what are you doing in the summer? Fancy this. I think that's dangerous. The part of this with Trent, and I get what Bry's saying. Say he wants 300 grand a week. Put Liverpool's second earner, third top earner, right? It's 78 million over the space of 5 years. Over a 5-year contract. So this thing of, by the way, that news story that came out today, he wants at least a 3-year deal in the Liverpool captaincy. Lads, you were getting that anyway. Like, the years is not a problem for you, Trent. The years is the conversation on the other part. Your contract's not about years. Liverpool wants to do a 7-year contract. Your contract's not about years, lad. You know what I mean? So that's why I don't believe that news story that got released today. I think it's a load of fucking shite, to be honest. Now, the argument is here, can you go out and replace Trent Alexander-Arnold for 78 million quid? Now, if your argument's yes, and you think you can get a better player, a more creative player, probably, let me reword that. You won't find a more creative right-back in the world. I think we all agree with that. So you go and get a better right-back defensively. Okay. But now you need to go and find a midfielder then who can do what that does. And by the way, that midfielder might get knocked on the first day, might not fancy England, doesn't like the food, wants to go back home, 45 million quid, 200 grand a week, 4-year deal, hates it, can't stand it, wants to get off.
So Joe Allen, you mean?
Joe Allen, you mean? Yeah, back to Cardiff and Swansea, whatever it is. But the argument is here, don't we, for the Trent one, is like, you know what you're getting right now. Never mind what he's going to be when he's 28, 29, which we all expect him to be a better football player than probably what he is now. Do you know what I mean? So you're paying for what you are potentially going to get, which is Liverpool's future captain. Liverpool here, and in a spot where I actually think, I've been thinking about this with Trent. I actually think Real Madrid have tried one. I genuinely think they've tried it. They've tried the look. I actually don't think they're speaking to Trent that much. I don't, and I've had a real evaluating in my head, because if you're Trent and you're speaking to Real Madrid and you've had to Real Madrid, go in and try and bid and we'll get off and we'll figure it out, kind of thing. Real Madrid did not win the Champions League this year, in my opinion. They might not win La Liga. You have a chance to leave with winning every trophy. Liverpool have a chance to win every trophy. We all agree with that because we're in all 4 competitions. So we have a chance to win every trophy. I find that ludicrous, even as a lad from Liverpool, that you would leave halfway through the season when you are literally touching distance of the Premier League, in my opinion. Like, I don't even think it's going to be close. And the favourites for the Champions League. To leave now doesn't make sense. I genuinely think Real Madrid have tried one. And I think if he was in conversation with Real Madrid, he'd probably look and go, what the fuck are you playing at? I'm not leaving now. Why are you trying that? It could be one of those conversations, do you know what I mean? And if you're Real Madrid, by the way, Carvajal's out injured. You haven't got a right back. He's out injured all season. So they need a right back. They are desperate for a right back. I just think I've been having to think about it. I've kind of changed my opinion a little bit. I think the hatred and the vitriol I've seen for Trent on social is insane.
It's horrible.
It's insane. And we need to... He hasn't spoke. Listen, I'd love him to come out and publicly say, I want to stay at Liverpool. I'm trying to box it off, Anna. But also, I'm not going to get under hit here. The biggest issue that Liverpool have in terms of the contracts, though, let's put the other 3 to one side. Say you sign all 3 of them up. Alexis McAllister knocks at your door. Can I have a new contract? Ryan Gravenberch knock at your door and go, I've been fucking great, you know. Anna, how much is it going to cost to replace me now? Because you're going to give Zubimendi 60 million and fucking 200 grand a week. How much is it going to cost to replace me? That's the issue. And I know what Bry's saying is that's where the snowball effect comes from. The snowball effect is, if you're Alisson, you go, any chance? Do you know what I mean? I think I've done my... Konate's got 18 months left. Ibrahima Konate's in the strongest position in the Liverpool squad. Because you wait for all them three to sign, and they're going to come to you in 3 months and go, fancy doing a deal? He's going, fucking right, I do. Do you know what I mean? I'm 23 years of age, 24 years of age, centre half for the next 10 years. I'll have fucking 300 grand a week. Oh, we weren't going to do that. Oh, but you just give him that. Oh, I'll wait then. I'll wait the last 6 months, and I'll wait the last 3 months, and I'll wait for your position to get weaker. And this is the part that Liverpool played themselves into. I think the last on this is what they're going to have to do eventually, mate, is eat the shit and swallow it. And just to like a taste. And try and evaluate. Do you need to have said when Salah? I think it was a true story when Salah signed his last deal. Klopp just sat down, or like I think it was like Michael Evans just sat down, or whoever it was, and just went, he's on more money than all you, but his bonuses are less. Don't even ask. Don't, because he's going to win you the lot. Don't even ask. I think that's what happened. I think we're going to have to do that next time now. They have to sit down this summer and go, McAllister, Gravenberch, Ali, Diaz is on 40, 50 grand a week. Diaz is like one of Liverpool's lowest paid players, by the way, for people who don't know. I think he's on 50 grand a week.
Yeah, 55 grand a week.
You're sitting there thinking to yourself, fuck me, come on. Go on, Shanko. If you're in the dressing room next to him, go on ask for an extra 10 grand. You're fucking helping me. You're helping me out, lad. When I sit down at the end of the season and go, I got you 20 goals, all comps, and 12 assists. What does that get me then? Does that get me 250? So they played themselves into this now, and I don't know how they're going to get out of it. The only way I think they can get out of it is win the lot and sign all three of them.
The thing is as well, sorry, being in January, whoever, if anyone signs Salah or Virgil van Dijk on a free, they're going to let the world know. We have to, somewhere along the line in January, something has to come out, whether it's from us or whether they've signed a pre-deal contract with anyone else.
Why?
That news is going to come out.
Why?
Because, all right, so if I'm PSG and I'm trying to sell tickets for next season, I'm going to tell the world I've got Salah. I'm going to get the shirts done, and it's going to come out. So, so if we have got these deals done, it has to come out. One way or the other, something's got to come out by the end of January.
When was the last
That's just me thinking that. If you're going to sign the world's best defender, world's best attacker, if you're signing him for my club, I'm telling the whole world, summer, that's it. These season tickets are being sold. Like, look what Miami did with Messi.
I get it.
Them tickets were from $27 a game to like $600 a game.
But we're talking in terms of what Messi is, and I get that. I get your point there. When was the last time a player signed a free contract? It's very rare because it doesn't really happen often anymore. So it used to be years ago. It used to, but it's not. It's because they know that their position as a footballer gets stronger when they got less on the deal, because it gets stronger with the current club. You use PSG, you can use them. Use them and go to Mo Salah. Yeah, might have Manchester and join you. Oh, you're going to give me 450? I'll take that back to Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? You use them as a negotiation tactic. It's not in the player's interest to sign a contract now.
Oh,
why?
For sure, yeah.
It's not in their interest. And it's also not in their interest to sign a pre-contract, because Liverpool could win all four. This is the part, if you're the three players here, and I've been thinking about this all day, the next 3 years you have a chance to do a dynasty. Genuinely. City, we don't know what we're getting. We have no idea. If Liverpool win the league again, Arteta has no idea, can't get over the line. You have a chance to go, fucking hell, lads, we can still another couple of leagues here, or big trophies in the next 2 years while City are doing a rebuild. Do you know what I mean? Pep Guardiola's only got 18 months left, or 2 years left. He's gone, fuck me, we might be away here. Do you know what I mean? Before you know it, you're winning every league. That's the part that Liverpool in with the position. It doesn't benefit anyone with them signing deals. And by the way, I'm serious, you are right a little bit, but I do think, as I just said, it doesn't benefit the club announcing them. You announce 0 or 3. You cannot be asked the questions. Do you know what I mean? Every fucking presser, what's going on with Trent? What's going on with Trent? What's going on with Virgil's? What? It's either 0 or 3. I think that's how you do the PR part.
Let me ask you this though. Sorry, Susie, but let me ask you this, Cosy, because in the ideal world, I think you're correct. But Salah keeps coming out and saying that nobody's talking to him, or he's not anywhere close to having an agreement. Yeah. So in that sense, we are getting a hint of what's actually going on in the background. Do you not think that it isn't? It's not like, we're sitting down and talking. We just haven't met in the middle somewhere that suits both of us. It's literally, well, nobody's talking to me, so I can't tell you anything, because I love playing at Liverpool, but I've no idea what's going to happen at the end of the summer. And this is why I want to make sure that we're talking about the club side of things rather than the players.
Yeah. Do
you not think the club are almost displaying a dereliction of duty? Because, as I said, they're, it's one thing to be saying, we can't afford to pay you guys what you want. All three of you. One of you maybe, but we can't afford to pay all three of you. So we're going to start a succession plan now. So, Salah, we can't give you what you want, but we really need Virgil at the back. So, we thought Chiesa was the guy, but it's not him. We're sending our scouts out. People are seeing our scouts out at these games for this player and that player and that player. They couldn't get Zubimendi over the line over the summer. They brought in Nunes, who's been an absolute failure as a striker. They brought in Chiesa, who can't get on the pitch. There is a sense that as I said, like it's an Enron almost thing. They're trying to be the smartest people in the room. Do you not think? And failing miserable.
I say this all the time. Go on, Susie.
How do you prepare for the summer with our transfer targets? Anyone you go for, you're either going to want to know whether you've got Van Dijk and Salah in your team, or if you haven't.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to buy a world-class right winger and they're going to say, well, Salah's staying, I'm not going to get a game. And same as another centre back. Or they could be like, yeah, I'll come if Salah stays because you almost guarantee the trophy. So somewhere along the line, that's what I'm saying. It has to come out before the season ends, just to even attract new players, either to replace what we're losing or to strengthen our squad.
A world-class right winger. I'm not sure we're in for Nigel Farage, Susie.
I mean, listen,
Elon Musk.
They are always trying to be the smartest men in the room. I've had that issue with them for a long time, right? These lads. I do think there's a part, though, in terms of Salah. A contract has been offered. Ornstein released that out. They've all received contract offers. He says it's far away. Imagine Mo Salah said it's so close now. And then it takes 3 months. Do you know what I mean? And then they go, I thought you said it was close. You can't really say, fucking hell, we're so close now. And then it takes 3 months to get it all tied off because that's how long this kind of shit takes. Because it's a very peculiar contract, and it's not like, do you want to play for Liverpool? Yes or no? He just ticks yes and signs it. It's not like that, is it? Do you know what I mean? So, I agree with Sizzy, by the way, massively. And I think Liverpool are trying to find the next guy to replace these guys. If they're not, it's extremely negligent. I would argue that the players that have left on freeze, we had the replacements through the door. Gino Wijnaldum left on a free. I thought we had Santiago 12 months before. Firmino leaves on a free. I thought we signed Darwin Núñez 12 months before, and that was kind of the succession planning. Luis Diaz comes in January, Mane leaves in May. Do you know what I mean? So this is a succession plans have been in place in terms of replacing the star players. Liverpool right now, and that's why I felt like the summer just gone was such like a missed opportunity just to get ahead of things. And I've said this on these podcasts previously. This summer coming in is fucking massive for Liverpool Football Club. Like, you have no idea. We can win the Premier League and the Champions League. We'll all be happy. Again, Canate and Robbo, 18 months, a year left in the summer. What do we do? Okay, we need a left back. Okay, what do you want to do with that left back then? Do you know what I mean? What do you want to do with Costas? There's questions all over the park. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like right now, I don't think anything's going to come out, Sergio. I know what you're saying. We need to hear that, and I get it. And listen, as a fan, I want to hear it tomorrow. I want to have a notification on my phone that all three have signed, and it's going to be amazing. But I just don't think it's going to work like that. And I think they'll wait to the last minute. And by the way, the players have every right to, because I think the players, in my opinion, be slightly disrespected. I think if I'm Trent, I think you've played on his loyalty too much in terms of the club, and he has every right to have his head turned. I have no issue with Trent leaving Liverpool, by the way. Zero issue. You can leave Liverpool, no problem. Leaving on a free, you know what's going to happen. That's the problem.
I'm going to let Brian have the last word on this particular topic, but I'm going to give you a good old-fashioned Macka's moral dilemma, Brian. If you're in charge of all this stuff and you have the means to sign one of the three, who are you signing?
Salah. Salah. I mean, because I do think that we do have a chance to go in on Dewey right there. I mean, I think that there could be a possibility right there to go in that position. I want to go back to what Cosmo was saying right there too. I just don't want to see us get egg in the face like this. I think that after 2019, after we won the Champions League, we did not have a contingency plan set up right there. We didn't buy the players, and I said this in the podcast a couple of years, last year. We didn't buy those players for the next succession right there to go move up. The 23-year-olds, the 21-year-olds, those guys like that. So without those guys there, I think that we left ourselves in kind of a lurch. And I think that was a bad situation right there. And so I just don't want to see that happen again, because I don't think we have anybody in the U21s that are able to come up there right after that and fill these shoes in one season or 2 seasons. I mean, Dione is close. Dione is so lightweight that he's not going to make it in the league at the moment. I mean, there's a lot of situations that we have to start. I mean, just back to the left back. Luke Chambers isn't ready to go to make that run. Norris isn't ready to make these runs. So our academy kids aren't up to that level. We need to have a stopgap, and I think we're going to run in that situation. As far as this contract situation goes out there, I mean, I love it. It doesn't do any interest of either the club or the player right now. Now they're is that these deals are wrapped up at the moment. And I think that there's probably with Mo's a lot of sticker with from what I heard that they're dealing with like image rights and things like that. But you being the most popular, one of the most popular player in the Arab world, you need to have something with your image rights included in that. So again, but Mo's my number one priority. I mean, I'll go back around to the beginning part. Mo first, then Verge, then.
Here's what I want to do. I want to move on because we've got a lot to talk about. Cosy has gone missing for valid reasons, but he's gone missing like this guy does. So we want to move on. Let's talk about not contracts for people that may be leaving because the contracts are up, but people that may be leaving because they have not worked out. So Darwin Núñez with the AC Milan top on there and liking all of the AC Milan related Darwin Núñez things today in social media. Now, as much as we may be desperate to keep Van Dijk and Mo Salah and probably Trent Alexander-Arnold, personal issues aside, would you be sad to see Núñez leave if he actually ended up going? And I'll say personally, I love the kid's energy. Like, he is such a positive, action-packed player. But that's not enough at Liverpool. You got to be scoring goals if you're the number 9, and he doesn't do that with any regularity. If we could get a good price for him, would you let him go?
I wouldn't let him go in January. Absolutely not. I don't think we have enough cover. Piers is non-existent, so we can rule him out. And again, we've seen Jota revert back to his injury-prone self. So to try and win the league and the Champions League with just the 3 that we can count on, and then that's assuming that Gakpo and Diaz don't get injured. I don't want to let ourselves short in that sense. So I definitely won't sell him in January. I think I'm probably the last man standing in regards to standing up for Núñez. And I just think last season we were saying his confidence was low. But now, we're on top of the world. Literally, we are on top of the world. And if you can't get your game up when the rest of your players are looking invincible, then really we have to question him, or he has to question himself. And I'll be sad because from every professional that's played with him, whether Suarez, Milner, Salah, they're talking about this potential and this Núñez that we've probably seen glimpses of, and we haven't got it. We haven't got it out of him for whatever reason. So that's why I'll be sad to see him go. Some things just aren't going to work out. It's like when we signed Morientes, we thought he was going to be amazing, and he wasn't. He just didn't work out. And it's not a slight on Núñez's talent. Some things just aren't meant to be, and it's unfortunate because he's shown the potential that he can be amazing. And I think he's a better player than Haaland. Not a better striker, definitely not a better finisher, but he's a better overall player than Haaland. He just came in at the wrong time. He came in the same window as Haaland, and Haaland came in, smashing every record and so forth. And then you see that we lost Mane, and we didn't replace Mane with Núñez, but we lost Mane's goals, and Núñez was supposed to compensate for that, and he didn't. So he just had a lot of things going against him. But yeah, I definitely won't sell him in January. But yeah, if he leaves in the summer, I'll be sad that we didn't get the best out of him. But I think for his own career and for us, it's just better to count our losses.
Let me ask you this before we go back to Brian. Because you're a man that's interested in, psychology and mental health. Like you understand like how, the mind can affect the physical almost. As far as I'm aware, what has he been here now? 2 years, a year and a half?
It's about 3 years.
3 years. He doesn't speak English to any great level whatsoever. Like, he can't do an interview in English. Does that give you the impression in terms of like, not his mental health? I hope his mental health is fine. I hope he's supported. But in terms of his mental commitment, does that sound like a player who wants to be at Liverpool for a long time, or a player who looks at Liverpool as a stepping stone to somewhere else, probably Spain and probably, Atletico Madrid or somewhere like that? Because, I mean, as much as Suarez got a ton of stick and criticism and, the ban and all that media attention, Suarez could speak pretty bloody good English, and he wanted to be a legend at Liverpool. Do you think something like that, the fact that he hasn't made any efforts to learn the language, indicates that he doesn't really see Liverpool as his destination club?
No, because Diaz is the same. I think it's just I think that it just comes down to his upbringing. I think when you look at Uruguay and Colombian as nations, like, you're either playing football or you're involved in criminal activities, and the only way out of that is playing football. I know you don't really see that many, and this isn't to have a big knock or generalize nations in general, but I mean, you don't really see talent come out of Uruguay other than football, and so I think that's just the way the demographic is. I think they've shown pieces where he's tried to speak some English and so forth, but Diaz hasn't learned English either. And that's why when you look at McAllister, it's amazing because he didn't speak a lick of English when he came to England, and then now he speaks fluent English. So I think that just comes down to an individual trying to improve themselves. When you look at Diaz, he is literally a kid in a man's body, and I think all he's ever known in his life is just playing football and nothing else, and that comes across, and that's probably why he did well in Benfica. He understood the culture, people spoke Spanish here, and he just got the culture and so forth. But yeah, it's I don't think the language has much to do. I mean, he knows that you see the fans at the stadium singing Nunes and stuff, so he knows he gets the love there. I think the best thing for Nunes is to stay on social media and just close up his social media. If it really affects him that much, just close your social media off and just concentrate on your game on the pitch, because we see in the stadiums he doesn't get booed by any of our fans. I mean, Liverpool fans generally, we don't boo our own. I think the last time I heard any Liverpool fans boo our own player was Lucas Leiva when he first joined the club under Rafa, and I think that was our first and last time, and I think that was a game against Fulham. But we don't generally boo our own, and Nunes, he still gets that love from from the people at the stadium, maybe not on social media, but I think that's what he needs to do, is to stay off social media and just shut the outside noise off if he really wants to mentally be in the game.
I'm pretty sure Louis Diaz is a child in a child's body, so I think you're well wrong on that. Brian, here's what I want to ask you, because we're the Thursday night crew, and we're famous for our blasting of Darwin Núñez. Does his other qualities, do they give you cause for hope that he may turn it around, or is it the fact that he's not an effective striker? Does that tell you that maybe he's one of those players who just never settles into a league? Like Jurgen Klinsmann came to Spurs, came to the English league way back in the 90s, and just fell into it like he'd been playing English football all of his life. But then somebody because I was thinking the other day, Núñez reminds me a lot of Fabio Borini. He has a lot of the great qualities you want from a striker in the English football, the hustle, the willingness to get physical in the game, but he just wasn't a good striker. There's probably another position out there for him. Do you think that would you take the good parts of Núñez's game and ignore the lack of goal scoring and keep him, or do you think, like I do, that if you're in that position up front, that's your job? You have to put the ball in the net, and if you're not doing that at a club like Liverpool with the price tag you have on your head, it's money we can't spend on somebody else that could do that job.
He's a number 9. What's a number 9's job? Put the ball in the net. I mean, that's as far as I go in that right there. I mean, I think that right there you have to come in here, and this is a 2.5-year experiment that we've been in, and I've never seen Núñez have a run of form of goal scoring more than 1 or 2 matches at a time. I mean, I've watched him go through and score, and I don't know what's the middle block. I don't know. I think it's sort of saying right there, with like his middle ability, he should get social media. That's what's called the angst, stuff like that behind him. That's something that you come across certain players right there, like he said, like Borini right there, who are able to play in the league. In this league, this league's a different league for forward. It's very more physical. And you would think that with the physicality that you have from Núñez, that this would work. But yeah, I'm not really sure what we could. But, I mean, to me, right there, it's almost like that he has to go in there and we have to look at moving him on. I mean, I don't know what else more to do right there with Nunez. I mean, again, it's a 3-year experiment that we're in the middle of, and we still haven't got anywhere with him. I mean, I like him. I appreciate his effort. I appreciate the work rate. But ultimately, right there, I need you to score goals, and you're not doing that. And that's it.
Let's move on from Nunez because I want to talk about that Man United game. A little bit, give it a little bit of attention. So what I want to talk about next, it's just a funny juxtaposition, simply because Celtic are in much the same position as we are in their league, albeit it is the Scottish Premier League, but they're running away with it. They face their fiercest rivals today, albeit away, and the rivals who are having a horrific time this season, to the extent where it looked like at one point they wouldn't even finish in the top 2, with Aberdeen doing so well. But apparently put in one of their worst performances for a long time and lost 3-0 to Rangers. Celtic. That's a nice picture of the forlorn Brendan Rodgers there. But what I want to ask you, though, the Celtic fans online for the last few weeks were talking about there's because things are so easy, there's a level of complacency creeping into their game. They're holding on to the ball a lot longer than they should because the goal will always come for Celtic. But of course, as they saw today, when the goal doesn't come, you're in a world of trouble. We are excellently coached, I think. I don't think anybody can disagree with that. Slot has coached us not well. He has coached us excellently. But I have identified parts of games where we got sloppy, where it was too easy for us, where we had too much of the ball in areas of the pitch that we don't need to have it in. Do you think that more than the contract talk, more than injuries, am I right in saying that the only thing that can stop us from having a fantastic season and winning at least 2 trophies is if we think this is going to be a fantastic season, we're going to win at least 2 trophies, so we don't even have to try?
I don't think so. I think when you look at our squad, even putting the manager aside, you've seen Slot, the fact that he still holds on to that Nottingham Forest defeat, he's not complacent. Like that defeat really hurts him. And then if you look at our players, Alisson is a Brazilian captain, Virgil, Netherlands captain, Robertson, Scottish captain, Endo, Japanese captain, Salah, Egyptian captain. We have leaders from back to front in that team. Most of them have experienced losing the league by one point on 2 occasions. And I think our players are more professional than that, than to let complacency, get the better of them. And what I love about our players, when you look around you, none of them make the front page news. You don't see these players out in nightclubs drinking and getting drunk like Grealish or Rashford or any of them. It's just our Liverpool culture, and I don't think complacency will come into it. I think all of them have got a point to prove. That Klopp philosophy is so doctrined into that squad and that Slot, and that's why the transition, I think, has been easy for Slot. Just the mentality of these players, they're just winners. They're just the leaders. They're professional. And when they've got players like Salah, who is a professional, you see, they talk about him being the first one in the gym, last one out of the gym. When you've got players like that to look up to, I don't think complacency will come into it. I think, you look at these players and they all see, yes, Salah probably get the golden boot. I think the rest of them, I think the second place or third place golden boot will come from Liverpool. I think that's where they want, Gakpo's now scoring like it's fun. Diaz, we found a position for him. None of us would have put Diaz as a number 9. The Slot's done it, and he's getting goals. So we're getting goals outside of the front 3 as well. So no, I don't think complacency will come into it. I think if anything derails our season, it'll be injuries. But no, definitely not complacency.
So let me rephrase it slightly for Brian. If not complacency, is it possible we can get too comfortable with such a lead? Is it possible that in periods of games, the players can, especially other teams, like we watched the watch along yesterday, Brentford and Arsenal, and Brentford. My complaint was Brentford were trying to play out from the back when they didn't need to play out from the back. It was they're just so used to doing this thing, and that it wasn't working, and they couldn't figure out a way out of it. Now you're a military man. I'm sure there's some sort of truth to the whole, make your bed so that you can bounce a quarter off a kind of a deal, and I don't think anybody could argue that that's not going to help you in a war itself, but it teaches you the discipline to make sure that you're not cutting corners, that you're not taking things for granted. I think Susie is right. I think we have players that have their heads firmly on their shoulders, and a manager who definitely has his head firmly on the shoulders. But my proposition is that complacency is not a thing that you switch to. It's a thing that creeps in over time, a little by little, until it becomes sloppy, and it's hard to get out of that. Is it important then that we have such a manager like Slot, who is going to make sure that your closet is squared away and your sheets are tucked in correctly, and you can eat your dinner off the floor? Like, he doesn't seem like, not that Klopp was a sloppy coach, but he was very emotional. As long as the thing got done, he was, and we could have good times. I think he sometimes let a little bit get away. We could win a game with not great play, and he'd talk about it, but we didn't usually always see a correction. And by that I mean the early goals that we conceded so often. But Slot looks like the kind who's going to say, "Hang on, this little seam here is out by 1/4 of an inch. That's not what we expect you to do. Fix that and do it again." Do you get that impression that that it's going to be the little things he's going to harp on about, and that the Liverpool players will know? Okay, that was a bit crap. It was a 5-yard pass and it was only off by an inch, but I see what he's saying. If we let it go off by 1 inch today, it'll be 2 inches tomorrow. So let's not get it off by 1 inch today.
I don't see very many complacent Dutch managers. So that's, you've listened to things about people who went with Van Gaal, who when he was coaching him, he was the biggest asshole in the world, and the players under him hated playing for him, but he was perfectionist, and so he basically said, "Hey, guess what? This is exactly what I expect," and all that. And I think that Slot's basically come there and done the same exact thing, where he said that that I have to come there and that we have to go in there and basically maintain our form. He's going to give them a hard time right there until they maintain that form. You can tell in his post-match interviews where he basically goes and says, "Well, we were good, but this, and but that." And so you have to figure. I think that the Nottingham Forest match right there is still in the back of his head, because I think that and you can see that in that match to say he's worked hard to fix all these problems, and so I think that's what's going to happen right there. I don't see us being complacent. I think that our heads are firmly. This is a business thing. It also goes back with the Klopp comparison right there. Klopp was the manager. Slot's not the manager; he's the head coach, and we talked about this back in when this appointment happened. All that, the difference of what this is. Slot has one job: is to maintain that. Is to maintain the side. He's not in charge of transfers. He's not in charge of the kit boy. He's not in charge of concessions. He's not in charge of this. His job is to make things right on the pitch. Klopp came to rely a lot on Pep Linders to go there and do the meat and potatoes of the whole thing. Where at the end right there, Klopp came there, oversaw the process right there. It's not the case anymore right there. The Slot's job is to train, perform on the pitch. That's his job, and I think that's the best thing we can do right now is have that type of player, that type of manager in charge.
Now, I want to nicely segue from that. It's not something that we can or that we need to dwell too much on, but it has a bearing on the game that's coming up, Susie. We're playing United, and to me, the best example of that complacency creeping in when you don't expect it was the FA Cup game last year against United. It was just a game where we should have had it won, and we didn't. And it's because we stopped doing the things that helped us to win games. And this is what this is what I'm talking about in terms of, my own personal experience in football, like playing and coaching, even though at the youth and amateur level, is that you can't think that the game is won, no matter how well prepared you are before you set foot on the pitch. So it is important you have a manager like Arne Slot. United are horrendous this season, and it's not getting any better under Ruben Amorim. And even he said it. It's not getting any better under me. This is an embarrassment. So what my fear is that an occasion like this, just like in the Rangers-Celtic game that we talked about a little bit earlier, this could be a game that Manchester United pull it together and play their best performance of the season. Simply because in the same way that Everton games are just never follow the form guide at all. Do we have the right set of circumstances and the right set of people surrounding the team and within the team to make sure that this performance on Sunday isn't a complacent performance and that we can't put United in the place that they deserve to be?
Yeah, I think so. I think because it's a league game, I think Stoke goes in full strength. You see last season, because it was a cup game, we still rotated. And that's why being a league game, it's, we're going to have a full strength team. Going back to complacency, we're not going to have that many kids, you see like Kwanzaa, he gets a little bit cocky here and there and so forth, but he's going to have players around him that are more professional than that and winners, be it Van Dijk, Robertson, Allison, McAllister, we have winners in that team that will stop that complacency against Manchester United. We saw them against Manchester City, but before last week, I think anyone could have been Man City. So, and Man United got a bit lucky with that as well, with the penalty and so forth. So, it's on paper, and if the players can shut off all the outside noise, because I think it's a foregone, everyone's just making that foregone conclusion. Even the most diehard Man United fans are like expecting a complete thrashing. If the players can shut down the outside noise and just take it as just another game that we have to get 3 points out of, we should comfortably win this. And then when you got players like Salah, who's just, he's just looking at every record. He gets another goal on Sunday. He's up there, with Henry. He gets another 2. He's passed on me. So it's great. Like everything is just going for us. And the best thing we can do, and I think Kazi said this a couple of weeks ago, we just need to match what everyone else around us is doing in that top 3. If they draw, we draw, it's fine. If they win, we win, we're good. If they lose, we lose, it's fine. We just have to match everyone else. But this will be a great game to actually just completely destroy Man United. And, I know that they think they can derail our season possibly, but I don't see it happening. And even with Amorim, if you read what's being said, Amorim, he was offered to Man United during the summer and they rejected him. So they still went back in for him. That club is just a mess from head to toe. So, if we're going to give Man United a bigger spanking than 7-0 on Sunday, then this is the game to do it.
And Brian, in years gone by, even during the David Moyes years, there was still a lot of sort of institutional learning and a lot of cultural memory involved in Manchester United. So even if they were having a poor time of it, they could still remember they're playing Liverpool, and they would still have the players who maybe tactically weren't understanding what was going on from the manager, but at least still had the talent and the fight to make something of the game. With Amorim's comments, and with what we know of the mentality of this United team, from Bruno Fernandes to Anthony to Xerxes, even to Onana, who doesn't come across as any sort of back-minded person, he's just a terrible goalkeeper. Definitely not as good as our number 2. But do you think, of all the Manchester United teams we've ever faced, from their most successful periods to their least successful periods, this is the one team that's going to crumble if we score early, like literally crumble, even more than the 7-0 team.
Yeah, they're definitely. This is definitely a loss of mentality with this side right there. But sometimes that's dangerous right there when you get somebody into a corner that has all these issues and all that. And so, I mean, again, it goes back to what we talked about complacency right there. You can't be complacent. We need to go out there and do our job. And this United side right there, very disjointed. I mean, I thought, well, a lot better of them. I thought, the Garnacho right there was in good form. I mean, in preseason, you watched him right there. I mean, I don't even know what happened to Rashford. I mean, it's just like the biggest fall from grace that you've seen in a player. And, we went that conversation right there, but I think that it's, with him, I think that it's a lack of consistent coaching at his position, and I think that and that he's failed for that. But I mean, I feel bad for Almiron right there because I think that he wants to do a job. I mean, as bad as you can really feel for a United manager right there. But I mean, I think he wants to do a job, but the players that he has it's just a rot. I mean, the club's in a rot. And that's all you can say about them. Onana is an outfield player that came to turn into a goalkeeper and it still plays like an outfield player. I mean, and it's like I was telling one of the people I work with, you're better off keeping Dean Henderson or De Gea right there than spend all the money on this guy, because this guy right there doesn't have any good form. I mean, they've been scored on the corners now right there in 3 matches right there off of set pieces direct goals off of a set piece, and no headers, no anything like that. I mean, that's poor. That's piss poor. I mean, your keeper is totally out of place right there. But again, I'm not taking shit for granted right there, because I've seen us them have a dip of form, and they basically derailed our entire season right there. And I mean, I'll go with last year right there. That United team last year was not great right there, but what they did to us is basically knock us out of 2 competitions in a matter of weeks. So, I'm not going to take it for granted. I think that, they still have weapons on that side right there that do work. I think that Fernandez right there, for all his faults right there, is a decent player. I can't stand him, but he's a decent player. I think that Rashford right there, his mentality is so low that, I mean, all it's going to take is one spark. I mean, again, he's a Manchester kid playing in Liverpool. That means a lot. That really means a lot right there to them. It's the same thing that Trent felt, same thing that Gerrard felt, same thing that Carragher felt. These games right there are emotional. Same things as Gary and Phil Neville felt. They're emotional games. And I mean, and so I think that Slot right there has the ability to take the emotions out of a match. Like what kind of you're talking about with Klopp. Klopp is so much all in, all emotional. Slot's not. It's just, it's business. And, and I think that he's got this side where we're playing business. And I think that we're going to have a good result out of it. I think it's not going to be as easy as everybody thinks it is, though.
In terms of what Brian is talking about, I think he's correct. Slot is a very good mental manager, more in a different way than Klopp was. Klopp was a really good manager for getting everybody to believe that anything is possible, which we needed. That's always what Liverpool fans needed, and we kind of saw a little bit of that when Kenny Dalglish came back initially for that half a season. We started to believe that we were back. Gerard Houllier gave us that belief. Rafa Benitez gave us that belief. Brendan didn't. Brendan was too much of a technocrat. He wanted to be the best coach, possession coach on the planet, and not the trophy-winning Liverpool manager. If he'd maybe changed that mentality to that, he could have been a lot more successful. But Klopp made us believe. But I'm thinking back to the Manchester United game. I believe it was the 2014 season, after the second place finish, where Gerrard comes on at halftime and gets sent off with the first tackle. It was all emotion. It was all, we're having a crappy season. I'm going to put my mark on it. Oh, it's a red card. Off I go again. Do you think that there may be a sense of that for Manchester United, where they'll go out with a point to prove, because they don't want to be embarrassed by their greatest rivals, especially when they already beat City? But it might be, because I think we've talked about this before, the whole idea of, the mental speedometer on, was there's a needle, and if you can get overstimulated and understimulated, it's a fine line to get it, and a lot of good coaching to get it right where you need it to be. And maybe Amarin will be wanting the win over Liverpool to kind of make his mark as much as the players would. So we might see a very emotional and turbulent Man United performance, and we have the best manager we can possibly get to counter that.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter what Amarin wants. I think, if you listen to his interviews, he
pretty sure that's what the Manchester United board says as well.
Yeah, like it really. I mean, when you look at that team, there's no pride in that team. I mean, I'd like to say I feel bad for Man United fans, and I really don't, but I feel their pain, because we've been there, and you look at, obviously that Gerrard situation was Brendan Rodgers' fault because he left his best player out for the start of that game. So obviously, you wound him up, and Gerrard did what he did, but there's no pride in that Man United team. I think any pride that they had was McTominay, and they sold him. From goalkeeper to forward, there's no team in there. There's no leaders. The fact that Bruno Fernandes is the captain pretty much tells you everything you need to know about that club. And I've grown up watching Brian Robson. I've grown up watching, Pallister and Ince and Roy Keane and even Rio Ferdinand. And Fernandes is not even in the same league as him in terms of being a leader. So, if you have a player like that as your captain for your team, it pretty much says it all. Amarin, he came out the other day and said he's not going to change his way, which, he's just done another, big Ange. And he's like kind of just like fed us what we want to hear. That team just don't know what they're doing. He doesn't have the players to play the formation that Amarin wants. And we knew Amarin, and it's probably the reason why we didn't go for Amarin, because he wants to play a 3-4-3. That's not how Liverpool play. We don't play that way. And, and I don't think Man United have got players to play that way. So, again, like on paper, and given the fact that Slot, he's not an emotional manager. He's probably the coolest manager I've seen in the Premier League. And the fact that no other rival managers or fans or anyone has anything bad to say about Slot pretty much tells you everything about Slot. They just don't know what to make of him. He's just come in and just gone with his job. He hasn't riled anyone up, and he's just getting on with it. He's just showing how that you don't need to come into a club and just have your ego take over like how Ten Hag did and bring on all these players from nowhere and from your old club and trying to fix something that doesn't need that much fixing. We had the squad there. He didn't buy anyone new apart from Chiesa, and he doesn't play. He's just got on with his job, and he's pretty much showing that it can be an easy job if you just don't let your ego get in the way.
I'm reminded a little bit of the Brian Clough quote about Bob Paisley, where he said, like, there's a lie going around that nice guys don't win trophies or finish fourth, but Bob Paisley's one of the nicest guys around. And I think that was the thing about Bob Paisley's. Shankly was kind of like Klopp. You could love him or hate him.
Yeah.
Most people loved Shankly, but there was a few that didn't like his witticisms. I think they were Everton fans. But everybody loved Bob Paisley. But here's what I want to ask you, Brian, before we go into match predictions and stuff. Do you see any surprises in the lineup, or should it really pick itself?
I think it kind of picks itself right there. I mean, I know that there's all talks about the players that are on four yellow cards at the moment and all that, but I mean, I think that we only need a point from the midweek. So we have to go full force in this match right there. We have to maintain this advantage in the league. So I mean, I mean, if Konate is healthy, I could see possibly him getting in there, but I don't think that he is. I think that he's still probably about a week out. So I definitely think you're gonna have Kwanzaa and Burge in there, but I don't see any changes. I mean, we already know right there that Diaz, Gapco, and Mo are our best front three at the moment, and you can't change that. I think you're definitely gonna have Szoboszlai's going to come back in the side, and I think that you're still going to have Gravenberch and McAllister. So I mean, there's really nothing to change at all in the situation. I mean, I think that our rotation is going to happen in midweek, and then definitely full rotation coming after that when we play Accrington Stanley. But yeah, so I mean, no surprises.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. yeah, the front three picks itself. I think Sabazza comes in for Jones. Even with the bookings, if they get booked, I miss the Accrington Stanley game. So I'm all for the bookings. Let's just, let Garen Birch and whoever needs to get bookings, let them get them out of the way in this game. And yeah, I don't see. Slot doesn't play mind games. You know what you're going to get with him. He's done all this chat of he's going to rotate players, and like we thought at the beginning of the season, he doesn't. He's gonna take each game like it's a final, and he puts his best team out there. So on paper, we should destroy Man United, given the players that we think are going to play. Like I say, Sabozza is, I think, the only one that's going to come in who didn't play at the West Ham game, and obviously quite Kwanzaa by default.
What is your score prediction, and who do you think will be the main impact player that isn't Mo Salah? I say I have that winning for Brian.
God, I'd love to say 8-0. And it can be, but I don't know. I'll be conservative and go 2-0, and I'll say Gakpo will be a better player.
Brian, what's your score prediction, and who is your non-Mo Salah impact player?
Had to go there, ruin me, didn't you? But I think it's gonna be a hard 3-0. I think it's not gonna be as easy as it looks, as a score flatters them. I think 3-0 to me right there, and I think that your impact players could be Diaz on there. I think that these players aren't used to playing a back three, and I think that's gonna really just juice them up. And I just don't know how they're gonna handle a lot of the situation. But I think that we're not a team to go out there and score 7 goals. That's not Slot's way. I think we basically are tacticians now. We're not going on and basically putting our hands to the throat and basically on this. We're just going to kill them with football. It's total football. It's Dutch. I mean, so we're just going to go pass the ball, get our 3 goals, roll out 3 points, and move on with our day.
I'm going to go 5-0. And a relatively easy 5-0, but I agree it's going to be Diaz that impacts the game outside of Mo Salah, and I'm going to say hat-trick for Luis Diaz against Manchester United. Just to show them that our embarrassment of riches is like a player that nobody thought was going to be great, not outside of Liverpool, and then who had to deal with his father being kidnapped, and then instead of leaving the club to go to Barcelona, decided, you know what, I'm going to be the next best thing since Mo Salah. And he's been doing it. So that's what my prediction is. No Darwin Núñez hat-trick for this one. Luis Diaz with a hat-trick and Salah with 2, I think. 1 penalty. There has to be a penalty in this game for Man United with that back 3. One of them is going to commit the foul. But we will find out on Sunday, and there will be a pre-match to discuss all of that more in depth. And a post-match probably to talk it over afterwards, and hopefully one of our predictions is right, because all 3 of us have us down to win, so it better happen. If it's not, it's Brian's fault or Cosby's fault because he left early. But for everybody else, thank you for joining us. Make sure you're liking and subscribing by smashing or tapping the like button, and clicking that bell on YouTube, and following us on Facebook and on Instagram and on Twitter, known as X, and Blue Sky and Mastodon and Smoke Signals and Telepathy. Whatever you need to follow us on, so we can get all those good pieces of content to you. And a big thanks to Brian, and big thanks to Suzie for joining us. The first ASTV of the new year. A happy new year to everybody for sticking with us all of this time through our technical difficulties, which we have a lot of, and our Darwin Núñez bashing, and our eternal optimism, and of course our ravishing good looks. We will see everybody next Thursday. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the game. Peace out. Here's the funky music.